Hello dear viewers, welcome to another episode on Scribepost channel in the series Tales of Coincidence. Today we'll be exploring a quite interesting topic. We'll be talking about the lives of two American presidents, two US presidents, which namely Abraham Lincoln and John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Yes, JFK. The F stands for Fitzgerald. So Abraham Lincoln and JFK, right? So we've been exploring some quite interesting similarities in the lives in the story of the lives of these two men. So let's get into it. We begin with the fact that Abraham Lincoln was elected into the House of Reps in 1846, while John F. Kennedy was elected in 1946. Now, the House, now in the American Legislative House, it is called the Congress. Just like in Nigeria, we call it the House of Assembly. Another the House of Assembly, we have the House of Reps and the House of Senate. The House of Reps in Nigeria are called the Honorables. The members of the House of Senate are called senators. So right here, the members of the House of Reps are called congressmen. For women, they are called congresswomen. So congressmen, congresswomen. So that Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy were congressmen 100 years apart, 1846 and 1946. Right. So um, then the next we talk about the fact that Abraham Lincoln was elected into the White House in the year 1860, and John F. Kennedy was elected in the year 1960, 100 years apart. Right. But stay with me. It gets more weird and interesting as we explore it. Abraham Lincoln lost a son while in the White House. Yes, he lost a child, a male child, in the White House. Same thing with John F. Kennedy. They both lost a male child while in the White House. Now, an interesting detail about these children, the children that died. The son that of Abraham Lincoln has died, William Wallace Lincoln. Looking at the name, each name, the name, the middle name, the surname, all have 7 letters, making 21 letters. The son of Kennedy that died in the White House, Patrick Boviard Kennedy, all names 7 letters. 3 names, 7 letters, making 21 letters. See the similarities? Now it gets crazier as we continue. Abraham Lincoln was shot on the head on a Friday in the presence of his wife and another couple. The other couple happened to be this vice president and his wife. The vice president and his wife. Same thing with Kennedy. Kennedy was shot in the head on a Friday in the presence of his wife and another couple. This other couple happened to be the governor of Texas, where the incident happened, and his wife. They were in the same car. So we'll come to that later on. Next details. The assassin of Abraham Lincoln, the man who shot Abraham Lincoln, John Wilkes Booth. Look at the names. 15 letters total. All the names 15 letters. Was killed before he could be tried in court. If you look at Kennedy, same thing. Lee Oswald Harvey, 15 letters, all the names. Also killed before he could be tried in court. I told you it gets weird and more interesting as we explore them. Then the next point. Abraham Lincoln was shot at a theater owned by a man called John Ford. And the name of the theater is called Kennedy. Kennedy's Theater. Lincoln was shot in the theater called Kennedy, owned by a man called John Ford. Now looking at Kennedy, he was shot in a limousine car, in a limousine manufactured by the Ford Motor Company, founded by Henry Ford. Interestingly, Henry Ford and John Ford just happen to have the same surnames. They are not related. How come we just have the name Ford in these scenarios? So they are unrelated, right? The car in which Kennedy was shot was named, guess what? Lincoln. All right, so let's get to the sixth point. The sixth point to note: the doctor who attended to President Lincoln at that moment when the incident happened, right, he was shot, is called Charles Taft. And guess what? One of the close friends of President Kennedy, one of his friends, is also called Charles Taft. And they are not related. They're not related. Then next, the president who succeeded him, his name is Andrew Johnson. President Andrew Johnson succeeded Abraham Lincoln after his death, being the vice president. According to the Constitution, if a president dies in office, the vice president takes over as the new president to complete the tenure. No, we've had a similar situation when in Nigeria when President Yaradua died and the vice president, President Goodluck Jonathan, took over, and that's it. So it's the same thing there. So the vice president, Andrew Johnson, yeah, that's his name, Andrew Johnson, the president who took over after the death of Lincoln. And guess what? The president who succeeded John F. Kennedy after his death is also named like Lyndon Baines Johnson. Same surname, but also unrelated. You notice that a lot of names we've identified there, which are very similar, we're not related, right? Then the last one which we note is the fact that this president, Andrew Johnson, was the president who succeeded Abraham Lincoln. Andrew Johnson was born in 1808, in the year 1808, while the president who succeeded John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Lyndon Baines Johnson, was born 100 years after, exactly 100 years apart, 1808. Right. So those are the ones that there are actually more. There are actually more, and there are some that you know notice that I didn't mention them. That's because they were not correct. For instance, the fact that it is usually believed that the year John Wilkes Booth and Leo Toward Harvey, the assassins of both presidents that were born 100 years apart, is not actually true. It's not actually true. And also a lot of other things, a lot of other details which I did not mention here. All these details are verified as true. All of them are true. They are facts. Right. That's why I've mentioned them there. That's why I've mentioned them there. So what do you think about this story? What do you think about this story? Why are the lives of Lincoln and Kennedy so similar? Isn't that weird? Is that a mystery, or is it just a coincidence? Let's have your views in the comment section. Thank you for following through, and see you in the next episode.